If you closely watch MMA for long enough time, you really do begin to see it go through various cycles. Whether it's division by division or even the sport as a whole, MMA does go through eras that relate to its stars, its dominant forces, even the fighting styles that are prevalent. And for this video, I hope to give you a greater sense of who the new breed are and how much of an impact they've been able to have. So with that in mind, we're going to take a look at the top 10 fighters who have debuted in the UFC over the last 5 years, basing our assessment of their impact on their skill, their resume, their upside, their technical advancement of the game, as well as their overall stature within the sport, both inside the cage and beyond. So let's get into it. Number 10, Corey Sandhagen. To kick things off, we have one of my own personal favorite modern day fighters, a bantamweight contender who I still think will have a huge part to play in the division's title picture before all is said and done. There's just something about Corey Sandhagen that makes me think that his prime is still in front of him. As one of the most creative strikers in the game today, though he has encountered his fair share of setbacks, Sandhagen is only losing to the best of the best, getting submitted early on by the champion Aljamain Sterling, going 5 rounds with Petr Yan in one of the best fights I've ever seen, and also losing a controversial split decision against TJ Dillashaw that you really could have given him. I really do have a lot of faith in Corey Sandhagen's ability to turn it all around, with just a few minor tweaks here or there, so don't make the mistake of ruling him out just yet. Number 9, Weili Zhang. The former UFC strawweight champion Weili Zhang could get her spot on this list based on her war with Joanna Jędrzejczyk alone, but when you factor in her stunning defeat of Jessica Andrade and her status as one of the best strawweights on the planet, she's a pretty easy sell. Zhang may have gotten her bell rung by Rose Namajunas in the fight that saw her lose her belt, but she proved that she is still very much in the mix through the closely contested rematch. 115 pounds is obviously the lightest division in the entire UFC, but it's easily the most talent-rich in women's MMA. I've been watching her compete for years now, and it seemed like my faith in her abilities coming into the UFC was paying off big time when she put on a truly brutal display to win the title from Jessica Andrade, and I do get the sense that her tale has not yet been fully told. Number 8, Deiveson Figueiredo. If Demetrius Johnson was so good that he made the flyweights look bad, and Henry Cejudo was the one who was forced to quote-unquote save the division, then where does that leave Deiveson Figueiredo in the storybook of 125-pound history? Well, I would argue that his role was the harbinger of violence, as his career has consistently seen him no-sell the belief that these lighter fighters just can't bring the brutality quite like the bigger men. Through his wars with Brandon Moreno and his complete and total destruction of Joseph Benavidez across 2 fights, I would go as far as to say that Figgy has played a big role in drawing eyes to the 125-pound weight class, in a way as it relates to the casual fan base, that even the greats like Mighty Mouse and Henry Cejudo couldn't do. Number 7, Sean O'Malley. Okay, this will be a controversial pick. I know most people are either fully in or fully out on Sean O'Malley, but here's the thing. The guy isn't even ranked in the top 10, and he's a pretty major star. And while there are factors that have affected his rise, his injuries and USADA, I really do think that this guy is good enough to be an elite fixture at 135 pounds. And once you remove all of the excess fluff from the equation and focus purely on the fights, the dude is incredibly entertaining. Like, ridiculously so. I'm not in it for his podcast or his hair or whatever, but if Sean O'Malley can make it to the pay-per-view level, his placement here in hindsight may look like I've undersold him. Number 6, Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane is without question the most technically advanced striker the UFC heavyweight division has ever known, and I do think that he is still the biggest threat to Francis Ngannou in the sport. We all saw how that first fight went down, how Gane did on the feet, and I think with a few minor tweaks to his game plan and some overall development of his MMA skill set, because remember, he's still quite early in his career, Gane can absolutely rise up and take out his former training partner. If you're a fan of high-level striking, it's very hard not to love watching this dude, and in the midst of an aging division, the fact that he is just 32 is quite scary. On a quick side note, if you're enjoying this content and would like to stay up to date with all of our weekly uploads, be sure to subscribe to the channel now, or I swear I will make Ben Askren number 5 on this list. I'll do it, I'm crazy. Also, we have a Patreon account, so if you want to help support the channel, the link can be found in the description. Number 5, Ben Askren. To fully understand the impact that Ben Askren has had on the UFC, you truly do need to subscribe to the channel now. I told you I'd do it. Hit that subscribe button so I can move on. Number 5, Khamzat Chimaev. Look, it's early days when it comes to the rise of Khamzat Chimaev, and I'm willing to do a bit of long-term betting on this list if you haven't noticed already. I am going to put him in the top 5 because of how strange and unique a rise it has been so far. Prospects don't often come around that totally blow the door off the hinges of the world's leading promotion quite like Khamzat has done. And though he was made to look more human last time around against Gilbert Burns, it's actually quite possible that people love him even more now. I believe that Chimaev has massive upside, and though he didn't manage to completely run over the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt Burns like he did with so many others, it's clear that there's still a lot of mystery, a lot of unknowns with this guy. Number 4, Michael Chandler. If back in 2017 you told me that Michael Chandler would one day find his place in the UFC and go 2-2 in his first 4, I'd pretty much think that that would be a safe prediction to make. But when it comes to Chandler's amazing run in the top flight, it's not about the numbers. There is no question that this dude is one of the most game, one of the most electric fighters in the sport, and he did this after years of already being seen as a legend of the lightweight division. I don't think I need to say any more, Michael Chandler is the man. Number 3, Petr Yan. He might have lost his belt in pretty surprising fashion, before then falling to a narrow decision in the rematch against the very same man who he had previously gotten the better of, save for one moment of madness. But I do believe that Petr Yan is one of the greatest fighters in the sport today, and since signing for the UFC, he has been at the forefront of the bantamweight division's climb towards being the most impressive division in the sport, although lightweight just keeps on knocking on that door. Petr Yan is a truly awesome talent though, and as far as UFC signings go, this 29-year-old still has years ahead of him in the top flight, and if I had to guess, I would back him to reclaim the bantamweight belt before all is said and done. Number 2, Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is without question the most violent, elite-level talent to have ever set foot in the UFC octagon, and I think that billing alone makes his high placement on this list understandable. Sure, he has fallen at the hands of 2 champions, 2 fighters in Khabib Nurmagomedov and Charles Oliveira, who were able to finish him by way of submission, but if there's another trait to Gaethje that truly does deserve to be highlighted, it's his adaptability, his desire to continue to defy his label as a wild man and attempt to improve in his overall skill set. And while yes, this recent defeat shows that there's still a lot of work to be done, after 10 mesmerizing appearances in the octagon, the highlight has been nothing short of sensational. A true legend of the lightweight division, and one who is close to being unanimously adored by the masses. At this point in the list, we have quite a few honorable mentions to get through, ranging from proven contenders like Calvin Kattar, Zabit Magomedsharipov and Paulo Costa, to rising talents like Askar Askarov, Kai Kara France, Merab Dvalishvili, and Rafael Fiziev. And then you have the likes of Jiri Prochazka, Tom Aspinall, oh, and the king of the shoey himself, Tai Tuivasa. But for our number 1, there was only going to be one winner. Number 1, Israel Adesanya. And finally we come to Israel Adesanya, the reigning middleweight champion of the world, a fighter who came into the sport on the back of a stellar career as a kickboxer, and up to now an athlete who is really bringing MMA striking to another level entirely. At 185 pounds, it is difficult to see how these contenders are going to bridge the gap, and though his first dip into the 205 pound weight class ended in defeat, I do think that the last stylebender's future will not be confined to the middleweight division. He's a stylish fighter, a magnetic personality, and a talent whose potential still remains up in the air. In my eyes, he's the best signing the UFC have made in the last 5 years, and 4 middleweight title defenses in, I have a feeling that there are more than a few exceptional performances ahead of him. But in your opinion, who is the single greatest, the single most impactful signing the UFC have made since 2017? And do you agree with how we reasoned this one out? Do let us know your opinions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.